Yeah, what's up, everyone? It's your boy, Johnny Mitchell, coming at you, YouTube Live. That's right, the first of many live streams, baby boys and girls. What the is going on? That's right, I'm censoring myself. We're trying to get that YouTube monetization going. You guys, our super we're doing something special today. We're talking about Diddy, because what else is there to talk about, okay? Diddy, a.k.a. the Black Epstein, a.k.a. truly a bad boy for life. What we're doing, and since we're probably not going to get this episode monetized because we have to go through his alleged list of crimes. So what we're asking is, if you want to shout out on this show, if you want to ask a question, tell me how dumb my haircut looks, whatever you want, we will shout you out at the end. If you drop us a super chat, anything helps. It is much appreciated. You guys, by the way, shout out to you guys if you've been watching and liking the videos we've been dropping, the monologue episodes, the vlog episodes. We're running wild with it. If you're from the Connect, if you're a fan of the Connect, coming over to my channel, make sure to like and subscribe. Let's get that sub count up a little bit. You know what I mean? Go hit that subscribe button. Go find a video. You know what to do. Just take the mouse, take the cursor, drag it all the way to the end so I get credit for that view count. What's up, Dustin? What's good, Dustin? Did Dustin leave us a super chat, or he's just saying what's up? Dustin, I love you.
Maddie Mudd says I'm writing a paper while doing this.
Yes, Maddie. I hope you're writing the paper that was due before the end of the semester that you're late on. You know what I mean? So shout out. We're going to talk to everybody at the end if they give us money. If not, a blanket hello and I love you to all. Listen, here's the thing. The problem when something like a Diddy occurs, okay? The problem is that every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every buster, every simp, every loser in YouTube space rushes in to try to make a clickbait video. You know what I'm talking about. Did you hear what the game said about Diddy and blah, blah, blah? I mean, it's like everybody's trying to eat, okay? So I've hesitated to even talk about this because it's been covered in so many different ways, except the one problem is everybody isn't Johnny Mitchell. Everybody doesn't articulate it and give it to you like they give it to you. Here's the one thing. I've always hated Diddy's music. I have said this. I'm 38 years old. I grew up in the mid to late 90s and early 2000s. The Diddy heyday. My day, it was like your parents with the Beatles. It was Diddy fever, okay? And I never liked him, even back then. I never liked him. I never trusted him. Okay? He always annoyed me. Whenever he put his voice over the song, yeah, take that. And Suge Knight called him out on it. He called him out on it at the Source Awards. You guys, you suck. Y'all want somebody that's not singing on the record, talking on the record. But that was Diddy. Diddy was always, and here's the thing, before we even get into his guilt or not, right, and whether the feds can even convict him, we're going to go over the charges one by one to see if the feds actually make the charges stick. And quite frankly, it's a toss-up, right? Now, I know 50 Cent is all over Twitter. By the way, they're all ratting on each other. It's so funny to see these gangster rappers. Their whole brand back in the day was not snitching. Now they're publicly snitching in front of millions of people all over the world. It's quite funny to see where we've ended up in terms of hip hop culture. But, look, 50 Cent calls it an open and shut case. The feds don't raid you unless they know they got you. That's not exactly true, okay? The feds don't charge you and take you to court unless they know they've got you. The feds raid all the time and either come up empty-handed or gather info, gather intel, and it's for the U.S. District Attorney, the Assistant U.S. District Attorney, to decide if there's enough evidence to prosecute, right? So this is not by no means an open and shut case. Bill Cosby is a great example. Bill Cosby how many allegations, if we could look that up, Brian, or maybe you could comment in the chat, which, by the way, guys, I don't have all the facts. So if I'm saying something, feel free to jump in if you've got the scoop and I misspeak. But I believe hundreds, literally hundreds of women came out against Bill Cosby saying that he drugged and them, right?
Over 60.
Over 60 women. Now, in a Fed case, and I know this because I've been locked up with plenty of people who have tried to take the feds to trial, and you've never seen grown men shed tears until they're coming back from federal court. It takes maybe 3 people on the stand to point to you, the defendant, and say, this guy sold me drugs. This guy sold me heroin. This guy sold me cocaine. This person sex trafficked me, right? I met a lot of pimps while I was down in the system. Pimps are going away now. It's not just pimping and pandering. It's a federal charge. It's sex trafficking, right? That's a Fed charge now. It just took, I saw a guy, it took one woman, one of his prostitutes to finger him on the stand. Well, point the finger at him on the stand and say, yes, he did it. And that was enough. They found him guilty. So you had 60 of those women, 60 witnesses, people coming out against Bill Cosby. Where is Cosby today? Free as a bird. Free as a bird. Dustin, shout out to Dustin. Thank you for your super chat. I love you, big fella. Where is Bill Cosby today? He's free. My point is, this is not an open and shut case. Everybody knows that sex crimes are the hardest things to convict, especially when we're talking about what, Brian? Talking about cases years in the past. All right? We're talking about something that goes back to 1991. Diddy has been a predator, well, really from the beginning, but the allegations stem back 35, almost 40 years. 1991, I was 5 years old when this all happened. So a lot of these women, a lot of these women have, and if you can look this up, Ryan, if Cassie, for example, who settled in civil court with Diddy, can Diddy still be charged in federal court criminally if he already settled with Cassie in a civil suit? Now, maybe you could comment on that down below. But my point is, there's a lot that goes into there's just a lot. There's a lot that goes into the cases, and the feds don't like to lose. The feds do not like to lose, especially when they see what happened with Epstein, although he mysteriously, conveniently, was killed or killed himself, right? Unalived himself. See, I know the YouTube rule before he could go to trial. But my point is, the sex crimes are the hardest crimes to convict because it's dealing with witness testimony, witnesses who are under the influence of drugs and alcohol at parties decades ago, right? So you have witnesses that are unreliable. You have just from, not because they're lying, but because memory fades after a while. You know what I'm saying? So this is not an open and shut case. And because the feds are raiding Diddy does not mean that they have everything they need to make a case stick. And the reason that I wait, the reason when cataclysmic, iconic things like this happen in the culture, the reason I wait 2 weeks before saying something about it is because the story always changes, and I don't want to sound like a doofus. Diddy was not running from everybody last week or 2 weeks ago when he got on a plane and was flying to Antigua, okay?
So
1 second, please.
He can still be criminally charged.
Wow, this is a scoop, people.
Giving Cassie a financial reward to induce non-cooperation
Wow.
in a criminal case would be unethical and unlawful under U.S. law.
Wow. So if you didn't hear producer Brian, what he said, reading from the case law, is that Diddy can still be charged in criminal court federally, even though in the state of New York, he settled in civil court with Cassie. Okay, because a reward for inducing non-cooperation is unlawful. So there you go. So look, they might have some action there. So I think the feds could induce Cassie to testify.
Yeah, they can.
So think about that. Cassie got the bag. How much did she make, Brian? What are they? Oh, they probably settled.
100 million?
So Cassie got 100 million, 100 sticks, and then she could go testify and put Diddy back in prison. That's lunch right there. I mean, that's the cherry on top. But I want to go through these allegations because as I said, I mean, crazier things have happened than guys who seemingly are as guilty as Diddy have walked. Cosby being one of those cases. And by the way, I if you look at Diddy, guys like Diddy, they have the Harvey Weinstein thing. Like, let's look at the mind and the personality of somebody like Diddy. They don't create anything, okay? They create brands, but they don't actually create the music that they promote, the movies that they promoted. In the case of Harvey Weinstein, all they do is find talent and promote that talent. Now, there's a skill set to that for sure. But what it does is it lends itself to narcissists, these kind of like old school Hollywood legacy media producers. They're not the creative people. They're leeches. They're glorified leeches living off of other people's content, whether it's screenwriting and acting and directing or music producers and artists, right? Like these are this is predatory behavior. This is a predatory business. And so guys like Diddy, they're born with predation in them, narcissism, and coupled with years and years of power and easy sex. This is how you create a sexual predator, right? Because it's opportunity too. If he was just still in Harlem in the ghetto, he would have been in prison long ago, right? But he's not. There's gradations to it. There's a lot of inequality in the sex predator industry, we'll call it, right? Epstein didn't go to prison for years and years and years because he is literally jetting around the elite of the world, right? Politicians, businessmen, princes, for God's sakes. And so, it's not like a guy trying to, kidnap a kid outside of Walmart. Those people go to prison. But this is, and Diddy was always corny, bro. Let me state this for the record. Johnny has always been a G. Johnny Mitchell has never liked that jiggy, the more money we come across, the more problems we see. That was whack to me. I knew that stunk in 1998 when it came out, okay? Let me put it on the record. 10 Crack Commandments. That's what I effed with, all right? Wu-Tang Clan. Mace always was corny. That and by the way, Diddy the late Biggie albums starting to get corny. Why? Because you have too much Puff Daddy, as he was known at the time, Diddy on the songs, making a commercial. I always thought he stunk. I always thought he was a weirdo. And here we are, 25 years later. I may be vindicated. So let's go through them, shall we? Thank you so much, by the way, for your. I noticed the chat's popping. Please comment, like, and if you leave us a super chat, because again, I don't think we're going to get monetized, but it's not all about money, people. It's not all about money to me. It's about fame. I care about that too, But you don't see me over here drugging my producer, do you? He's not waking up with his butthole touched as a Mr. What's his name? A Mr. Jones, Rodney Lil Rod Jones is alleging. I mean, so you get to this point, but Diddy is likely a homosexual too. by the way. And I know I'm going in a lot of different directions here. This is called spur of the moment. I don't script any of this. It's just talent. This is my theory. This is the problem with making homosexuality, rather, being gay in the Black community a stigma. Because it manifests itself. If it was easier to be gay as a Black man, especially back then, they wouldn't have to, overcompensate so much, you might say. And if you're Black, tell me if that's got any cultural veracity at all. Now I know things are changing now. Things are much better than they were back in the 80s and 90s when it comes to accepting of homosexuals in the Black community. But Diddy is likely a homosexual. Okay, this is the weirdest. This town is filled with closeted gay people who also happen to be sexual predators. I don't know what else to tell you. And I'm not saying gay people are predators. Absolutely not. I'm saying closeted gay mega producers generally tend to be in Hollywood, tend to be predators. Now, by the way, I've gotten blackout drunk in Boys Town, Santa Monica Boulevard before. I've woken up with I was puking behind this pizza place after my friend and I went out and just really tied one on. I woke up with this guy trying to take my pants off. That's a true story. That's the closest Johnny has ever come to getting what Lil Rod describes as waking up, getting his anus rubbed. Now, so we know about Cassie. This is the first, real bombshell against Diddy, and this is old news. Everybody knows about it, right? She very, very quickly accepted a settlement from him. Now, I will say, if they decide to take it to court, if they go to the feds and try to charge him criminally, that does not bode well for her. I don't think because if I'm a defense lawyer, we all good over there? If I'm a defense lawyer, the first thing I'm going to say is, Miss Cassie, why did you accept a $100 million deal the day after these allegations came out? So they're going to paint these witnesses as just out for a payday, right? To me, the most damning allegation against Diddy, the one that could put him away for federal sex trafficking, right? Because again, there's no statute of limitations in federal court for the crime of sex trafficking. Okay, so again, with state cases, there's a statute of limitations, right? Probably, if we can look that up, Brian, 15 or 20 years, maybe only 10 years. In the feds, there's nothing like that. So, in case you're unaware, Liz Gardner. Nope. Sorry. Talk amongst yourselves.
And what state?
Detroit. She flew. Damn, I was supposed to have all my notes here. This is so embarrassing.
6 years for misdemeanor to 10 for most.
Okay, so 6 to 10 years in a state court. So basically, there was this singer. Now, I'm sorry, you guys. It's in my notes. There was a singer when she was 17 years old. She met Diddy. Then, oh, I'm sorry, I've got it right here. This goes back to 1991. Okay, 1991. Here we go. And another complaint filed the same day. Joy Dickerson Neal alleges that in 1991, she reluctantly went on a date with Combs, who intentionally drugged and then sexually assaulted her after dinner. She claims that Combs recorded the assault and showed the tape to other people. While Dickerson Neal did not go to authorities immediately after the alleged assault, she says she did eventually file a police report with unspecified agencies in New York and New Jersey. Now, that's not going to work. That was too long ago. But, oh, I'm sorry. From 2016, 2017, here's the case. Don't fall off, people. Comment. I'm coming around to it. All right? It was an assistant. It was a longtime assistant who is a Jane Doe. Okay, to me, these Jane Does are probably the most damning people because they're not identifying themselves. So those to me are the people the feds are going to keep on ice and be the star witnesses if it goes to court. So there is a Jane Doe alleging that when she was 17 years old, in between 2016 and 2017, okay, she was flown across state lines. Here we go. The lawsuit claims that the men trafficked Doe across the state lines from Detroit to New York City on a private jet. They plied the teenager with drugs and alcohol until she couldn't consent and then violently assaulted her, and she told them to stop. The complaint also includes several photos that Doe alleges were taken at the studio on that night, including one where she was sitting on Combs' lap. So to me, right there, if they can prove, so now, did you see that right there? That's a federal crime, flying an underage girl from Michigan to New York City. Okay, so we have no statute of limitations there. It was only 7 years ago, like in 2016, 17, and she claims there's photos of it. Now, if the feds can prove that, I believe, and I'm going to have Brian look this up right now, that could get him life in prison right there. I think. Now, the other stuff, I don't know. You know, what the game is saying, what 50 Cent is claiming, right, about the sex worker that he dated, all of these allegations surrounding these gigantic sex parties that Diddy had, right? I'm not sure. Okay, so 15 to life is what somebody could get for one count of sex trafficking of a minor. So minimum 15, maximum life. Now, I do think that the U.S. Attorney's Office is going to be out for blood with this one. All right. They were not able to get Epstein, the last high-profile case of this kind. Right. He mysteriously was able to hang himself in the most secure wing, the most secure jail in the world, was still able to hang himself. And the guard fell asleep, and the cameras were mysteriously not working. But let's just say that he hung himself. Yeah, exactly. Just like the Boeing whistleblower, up and died right before he was set to testify. But look, conspiracies aren't real. Believe what they're telling you. Believe what I'm telling you. Is that I do think, and he's a black guy. Let's face it. Let's face it. There is still some biases in the justice system, in the sentencing system, right? Plus, this guy's just a scumbag. He's got allegations of weapons charges, right? This guy shot people. He's got people coming out now saying that, yes, J-Lo may testify against him, right? So, and all of that stuff, Brian, I might add, in federal court, you do not have to be found guilty of other crimes for the judge to take into consideration those alleged crimes in the sentencing. So I think if Diddy's popped on one charge, he could get 30 minimum. I think they could ask for and get 30. He's also a rich guy, though. Diddy has so much money, he's almost not black. I do want to point that out. Let me say that again. When you get to $1 billion, you kind of cease to have a race. Okay? However, I think they want this guy. Now, and unfortunately for Diddy, there's nobody to rat on. Now, with Epstein, there was a lot of people he could have turned over, right? We don't know what Epstein was willing to tell the government to get out of his predicament. He died too quickly, right? That guy had information that literally could have rocked the Western world. Okay? Government, business people, right? I don't think. Now, Diddy did have Prince Harry at one of his parties. and he got like roped into the headlines. He's like, man, I was just involved. This guy Puff Daddy. I just came by for a minute. I was in LA. He just came by, but I don't think it was not bad. I don't think Diddy is hiding a lot of extremely important people, nor do I think he's connected to the intelligence services the way that Epstein was. So my point is, he doesn't have a lot to offer the government. Okay, when you have a lot you can do for the U.S. government, you can get lenient. It's called ratting, right? And Diddy's not above ratting. This guy has no principles. He's just that. He's a leech. He's a parasite. He's an opportunist. He's out for self. I don't think, who's he going to tell on? Look, Usher blew me. I have tapes of Usher blowing me. Will that get me a time cut? Probably not, right? If anything, it's blackmail that you can also be charged with. So, I really, I think if they can prove and find him guilty, I think he's going to get the full weight of the law.
This is interesting.
What's up? Hold on, we got a scoop here.
Okay, Elon Musk.
Who's Elon Musk?
He's a commented.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I thought it was Elon. I think you were mispronouncing Elon's name.
And I buy real estate.
That's my boy Brad from Tampa.
Diddy has video of Obama at one of his parties.
Okay. Okay.
That Diddy has like dirt on Obama, and that he's been for because Obama's personal chef.
Right.
Died of a drowning a year ago.
Right. Okay. Now again, do I think former President Barack Obama is above blowing a guy in Chicago in the back of a limousine as he's sniffing a couple lines of cocaine? No, I do not. Do I think he's above drowning his private chef in order to keep these gay rumors quiet? No, I do not, actually. However, we do not pump any sort of unprovable theories on this show, but we can certainly talk about it. And do I hope that that's one that comes true? Like, honestly, and I swear, and I mean this, Brian, if they presented us with a choice, we will either tell you, unlock the Kennedy files and tell you exactly who popped Kennedy, or leaked amateur footage of Obama sucking or getting sucked. I'm taking Obama 10 out of 10 times. Okay. So yeah, there's that's a good point. That's a good point, Musk. Now, what else are they saying? What I think is interesting are how allegations are now swirling around guys like Jay-Z, around guys like Drake. Allegedly, you're going to see, according to the streets, you're going to see a lot more come down the line, right? I'll tell you what's happening right now, guys. Music is going through what comedy and famous comedians were going through back in 2016, 2017. At first, it was Cosby. And then all these people started. Louis came down, right? And we heard for months before the Louis C.K. scandal broke out. We heard that it was coming down just from being in the community. So, and I'm not saying Louis deserved the canceling. You know what I mean? We just heard that it was coming. So you could see things like that with Drake. You could see things like that with Jay-Z. Although Jay-Z is, I kind of doubt it. What Jay-Z did was he dated Foxy Brown when she was 14 years old. That did happen. Nas called it out back on Ether. Do you remember Ether back in 2001? It's a diss track against Jay-Z, and he says, Foxy Brown, you kept the face in a boop. So everybody knew it, but back again, different time. I don't know that they can pop him for that. I mean, look, Jerry Seinfeld dated famous. He was the most famous comedian person in the world. He dated a 17-year-old. So I don't think that's going to be enough to get any criminal charges to stick. Cuba Gooding Jr. Now this one has veracity, meaning could stick, right? Let's talk about him. Let's talk about Combs's former producer and videographer, who filed a federal lawsuit against the mogul, alleging Combs sexually harassed, drugged, and threatened him. According to the lawsuit, Rodney Lil Rod Jones worked on Combs' most recent album, Love. By the way, why is Diddy making music still? Stop. De Niro, stop acting. Diddy, stop. You never made music to begin with. But this guy was working on it. He lived at Diddy's house between September 2022 and November 2023. Jones alleged he was the victim of constant, unsolicited, and unauthorized groping and touching of his anus by Mr. Combs. On one occasion, the lawsuit claims Jones woke up naked and disoriented in bed with Combs and two sex workers. He alleges the music mogul drugged him. The complaint also claims that, in his role as Combs' videographer, Jones secured hundreds of hours of footage. Hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaged in serious illegal activity. The illegal activity, the suit alleges, includes acquiring drugs, soliciting sex workers, providing lace drinks to minors, and sexual assault. Now, if that is the case, that could be damning. That could absolutely be very damning, if that's the case. Now, if it's just him partying with a bunch of blow, right, and celebrities, hey, welcome to Hollywood. Congrats, you made it. I wish I was at that party. But you're right. If he does have footage of him drugging minors, sexually assaulting people, minors, passed out people, that could help. That could help. And if I might add something, right? I'm going to assume, again, I'm going to make another black stereotype. Is that okay? I'm the blackest white guy you've ever met. Trust me. Lil Rod, right? An African-American gentleman. Okay? I don't think a black man, no matter how hungry for money he is going to make something up like he woke up butt naked because another man drugged him. All right? And was touching his anus. Right? Unless I'm very wrong, there is a point of pride. Two black guys, black men, straight black men, that they do not want it publicly known that they woke up drugged and butt naked and probably diddled by another dude. Now, would Johnny Mitchell make something like that up? Depends on the numbers. What are we talking about? 50 million. I don't even need 100 million like Cassie, the greedy little floozy. Give me 50 million and I will tell the whole world that I was gang beeped by Diddy. And I actually did it willingly. No, because then it wouldn't be a crime. But that's just me. Right? So yeah, I think, look, the reason that I hate this era, but I also love it, is completely embodied in this case, right? You have, on the one hand, everybody in the business is snitching on each other. I hate the snitching culture. I hate the telling. As a former criminal who interviews criminals all the time that have also told, it kind of makes me sick. I miss the days when deep secrets were kept between individuals and they took them to the grave. My grandfather killed untold numbers of Germans, right? He flew on the bombers, right? When they took out from Britain and they flew over German territory and dropped bombs for, did that for months at a time. He's lucky to be, well, he's dead now. He's lucky to have survived that. They killed unknown numbers of German civilians. Didn't hear a peep from him. He suffered in silence the rest of his life, which was cut short due to cigarettes and alcoholism. But I miss those days. I miss those days. And that's gone. Everybody's snitching. 50 Cent, Jamaica Queens, Southside Queens, a crack dealer, gun runner, probably has bodies on him, right? Made some good albums. Like, I really like the guy overall. You know what I mean? The antithesis of rap and hip hop, the way I grew up, was snitching. And that's what everybody's doing now. But they're kind of doing it for a good cause. In the case of Diddy, right? You hear people have known Diddy's been a weirdo for a long time. People have talked about it for a long time. People hear things. I mean, 50's been ahead of it, right? But I'm talking for the last, decades. People have known that he's blackmailing and making. If you want a record deal, even if you're a guy, you're going to be holding his pocket, and he's going to do it on camera. People have known this. People knew about Epstein, for God's sakes. People knew about Cosby. Lawyers knew about Cosby. His lawyers were paying off keeping witnesses silent since the 80s. So this is all kind of coming to roost. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I like to think there's justice in the world, okay? I think America is going to pay for the crimes that she cannot seem to stop committing. It's going to happen. It's going to happen with the collapse of the currency, right? The runaway inflation that we are so very close to having. Israel will have, well, I don't even want to say that. Israel will have its day. You get what I'm saying? The chickens will come home. So that's, it's the proof of God. You cannot commit this level of evil for only so long, right? The Native Americans got casinos, right? They're doing okay. But my point is, you will see the evildoers. You can tell I've been really getting into God lately. You can tell I've been really going through dark times because I'm reading about God all the time. I'm going back to Him. I'm turning to the Lord because I have nothing except a thriving YouTube channel. And now a second, gonna be thriving YouTube channel thanks to you guys. Thanks to my producer, Brian, and you. I love you so much. Leave a comment and a like. Make sure to subscribe. I'm getting to be in your face doing these lives quite a bit. There's a lot to talk about. Oh, leave us a super chat, guys. Leave us a super chat, and you can ask me a question too, because we got some time. Here we go. Now, I want to talk about Diddy's. I want to say one thing about Diddy, okay? Diddy is a gangster. All that time that he was putting on these gangster rappers, right? The Locks, Biggie, you know what I'm saying? You name it. He was the gangster the whole time. Let's talk about it. Let's go back to his shooting. Let's go back to the 1999. I remember this vividly. This was all over the news. It was New Year's Eve, 1999, going into 2000. Diddy's in a club. I'm going to need some help with this, Brian. Some gangster stuff pops off. A gun gets pulled out, and 2 innocent people get shot. This is in the middle of a club. Try doing that one now. You'd be on every security camera. I mean, you can't even believe how wired up Midtown Manhattan is now. Just 25 years ago, you could shoot somebody in a club and get away with it because there weren't cameras there. It's bananas. So this is what happened. And people forget about this guy. Shine. Shyne. The rapper Shine was set to become like the new it guy of the gangster rappers He was part of the Bad Boy family. He had just dropped his debut album, which was fire, like sick. And I'm talking, this is like, he sounded like Biggie, but he had, he had his own thing. He had his own kind of rhyme style. He had this like Caribbean kind of flavor that he would put on it, but he was a G. I really liked the dude. And he would have been, he probably would have been like at least a top 10 rapper of his era. So he's in the club with Diddy, and a gun gets pulled out, shots go off, 2 people end up getting hit. Now, what Diddy does is he gets Shine to take the fall for him. They got separate. Diddy did this. Diddy said, "Don't worry, Shine, I've got you. I've got the best lawyer." But then he gets a separate lawyer, right? So clearly he's making back-end deals with the government, with the feds. Hey, don't worry. Shine is going to say it's his gun. That's gangster, bro. Gangster. And Shine, to Shine's credit, this is before people ratted. Shine kept his mouth shut. He didn't die. 10 years he did for this cat. And then to add insult to injury, he gets deported to Belize. I think he's running a fruit stand. I think he's selling pupusas right now outside of the airport. Brian, you got something for me?
So one of the people shot says that Diddy was the one who shot her and has renewed her accusation recently.
Wow. Okay, so you have a witness now. 25 years later, you have a woman, a victim, right? She was shot.
Yeah.
You have a woman coming out now saying it was Diddy who shot me. Now, let's put on our lawyer hats, folks, and you in the chat can help me out with this. Can Diddy retroactively be charged with a gun crime in this case? Over 24 years later, can the feds try Diddy for, yeah, it could be a federal gun case. If it's an illegal firearm used in the commission of a crime, yeah, you could absolutely make that a federal case. I'm sure it was an illegal gun. Now,
he was found with a stolen gun in the car.
He was found with a stolen gun in the car at the scene?
There was, they went on a police chase.
Oh my God, they went on a police chase. I forgot about this.
Lopez,
right.
Bodyguard, went on
right.
A chase. They found a stolen gun in the car. Prosecutor said that he tried to bribe the driver $50,000 to get the gun was his.
So how did he, if people who didn't hear that, I've totally forgot about this. They went on a high-speed chase. He was with J-Lo. I mean, by the way, J-Lo is like an international star at this point. But this was the most Puerto Rican she ever got right here. Fleeing a shooting with her black boyfriend and a stolen gun. That's wild. So Diddy tried to bribe the driver 50 G's to say the gun was his. Now, Brian, how did he end up beating that? I mean, this guy, like, power is how. Power and money is like, it's so wild to me what people were able to get away with, especially back then. Like now you have no chance. He was acquitted. Now, what I think is, so what did Shine have to do with it? Shine was the one they said who shot, unloaded the firearm.
Of 5 charges, including criminal possession of a weapon, first degree assault, and reckless endangerment.
Okay. Wow, you did 10 off that. That sucks.
He was acquitted for attempted murder.
Okay, so wow, I mean, he got a terrible deal. Now, clearly, like, Diddy is shrewd enough and had enough money at that point to, I don't know. There's just something there's something that doesn't make sense about that, except for the fact that maybe they just dropped the charges. It's possible. It's possible. But, I don't know. The system was much more predatory back then. So I can't see them, even for a celebrity, he's a black guy, he's a young black guy. If they can get a conviction for an illegal gun, I think they would do it. So, look, to be honest with you, I don't think the gun thing, I don't think that's going to stick. I don't think the prosecution, if I'm taking odds here, if I'm betting, I don't think that the feds, when they take Diddy to court, if and when they take Diddy to court for the sex crimes, I don't think they're going to try to bring that gun case back up. I don't think they need it if they've got enough on the trafficking of minors and all these other things. I don't think they need it, and I think it's a harder one to make, stick. But it's wild, And then again, there was another shooting of a bodyguard, which happened more recently. If you could look this up. So I mean, look, Diddy is bribing people, blackmailing people, shooting people, supplying the parties with mountains, Tony Montana style levels of cocaine, which is actually that's just a good host. But he's a gangster. He's a gangster. But I'm just glad I wanted to come on here and talk about it because, so many of these people are just using Diddy for clickbait, and are we? Of course, but we run a crime channel, for God's sakes. What will we look like not talking about it? They say he had a drug mule. That little white kid, that's not a drug mule. I mean, I guess you're muling drugs, but he's not doing it on a big scale. He's bringing Diddy drugs. He's Diddy's drug guy. When you're rich and famous, you've got a drug guy. You've got a guy that brings you the drugs. You've got another guy that brings you the women. You've got another guy that does your shopping. You've got another guy that films all of your crimes, right? But smart, I will say, smart of the videographer though. Yeah? Smart of the videographer for getting these as he's working on Diddy's album, to also be recording all these crimes. So look, if the feds have that footage, we'll see, man. We'll see. Thank you, Dustin S. Yeah, shoot.
How do you feel about J.D. Williams and Big Lance?
J.D. DeLay is a close friend of the show. I absolutely adore the guy. I don't know the other two guys. I mean, they certainly have brands, right? I will say this about people that have the prison brands and the prison look. A lot of it is hype, right? But Diddy was hype. Diddy knew how to push a brand, and so do guys like JD DeLay. No, JD is an Oregon boy. We served time in the same penitentiaries. We know many of the same people. We knew the same transgender Golden Glove boxer, for God's sakes. Apple. Shout out. No, not Apple. That was the one I was down with. Yeah, Apple. No, I don't know the other two. Who are Lance? Who's Lance and
Lance,
yeah, I was gonna say Jay Williams of Duke University. Love him. Shouldn't have gotten that motorcycle accident. No, you guys, we don't, I love those guys, but that's not what we do here. We come at things a little more intellectually, perhaps. Jay Williams, former prisoner, huh?
Yeah.
Man, prison is profitable. I will say, thanks to the drug game and the prison industrial complex and the war on drugs, it created so much opportunity for people, and that includes YouTubers like ourselves that are taking advantage of those stories decades later and glorifying. So
this is a great
shoot.
Homeland Security served the warrant.
Okay.
Why did Homeland Security do the raid and not the FBI?
Okay, we just had a Homeland Security officer on the Connect. It's out right now, literally dropped on Sunday. He answered this very question. The question in the chat was, why did HSI, Homeland Security, serve the warrant and not the FBI? Because the HSI can do all of it. They're the most broad jurisdictional federal law enforcement agency. You learn this all from the former HSI officer, fresh and fit. They can go after drugs the way the DEA does. And they can also go after sex trafficking, which he also, on the podcast, talks about doing. He was setting up a bunch of pedos, involved like kiddie porn, a lot of like gross stuff like that. So he was doing all of that. So Homeland Security, they need to rebrand. But yeah, Homeland Security doesn't just deal with like illegal immigrants at the border or cartels or whatever, they can just serve the same function as the FBI. They do basically FBI, DEA, like whatever, you know. So that's the reason they served. And actually, I've noticed that HSI is starting to serve a lot more warrants when it comes to things like sex trafficking than the FBI. I don't hear as much about the actual FBI anymore. I think they are, according to Fresh, the FBI on the law enforcement side deals almost exclusively now with counterterrorism, right? So they're in the offices, high level intelligence, and the folks on the ground, the feds on the ground doing the raiding, doing the arresting, you know, doing the legwork, usually is Homeland Security. So good question. Can you leave us some money?
No.
Oh, okay. That's okay. If it's a really good question, you don't have to leave a super chat. This is how much I do it just for you. I don't want, yeah, I do want your super chat. It really helps out. But if it's a really good question, even if you don't leave us money, we'll answer it. Anything else? Guys, go ahead. Make sure to hit that subscribe. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Tell me if you've been liking these monologue episodes I've been putting out. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Adult Survivors Act. This is what Cassie signed. So that's basically gives victims a 1 year, this is a New York law, gives victims a one-time 1 year window to sue their alleged sexual abusers and institutions, even if the statute of limitations is run out. Ivan, yeah, that is the best way to super chat. Money and no work for it. Thank you, Ivan. I appreciate you, brother. Woo, it is hot in here. Boy, do we have a hot episode of The Connect coming out next couple of weeks. So yeah, I mean, some really, what's up, buddy? Yeah, we had an hour? Okay, cool. So I just want to talk to everybody and thank you for tuning in. We are trying to build up the Johnny Mitchell channel, okay? The Connect, we'll keep rocking, right? And keep getting amazing guests in. But we're going to be putting out a lot of content here on my personal page. And so I would love it if you could subscribe. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed, or if you'd like to leave a comment, would be huge. And if you're balling out of control like Ivan, what ethnicity? Don't tell me. Ivan's Latino. What for one thing? I'm gonna guess Dominican or Cuban. Take it away, Ivan. What are you? Write in. Leave us a super chat. It's also, if you're going to be in Fort Lauderdale, no, not Fort Lauderdale. We were just in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, duh. But what kind? He's an Islander. I guarantee he's an Islander. You know how you know? Because all of these Islanders, Dominicans and Cubans, they all have Russian names. It's weird. Secret. He's Cuban then. No, Cuban would proudly brag. No, I'm Cubano, man. Well, I'm going to be in Fort Worth, Texas in June at the Fort Worth Comedy Club. 4 nights, doing 4 nights of comedy. So, no, 4 shows, 2 nights. So go to my website. Follow me on Instagram, too. I could really use some help with the Instagram, at Mr. Johnny Mitchell. But besides that, just keep tuning in. Let us know how many lives we should do. I'd like to do about 3 of these a week. 3. That's a lot. That's a lot, but we got to build this channel up so we can compete with the Connect. So we will probably start out doing about 3 of these lives every single week until we can build this up and we can come back down to 2. Because 3's crazy. It's too much. There's a lot to talk about. Ivan, what? Are you the feds? What's going on? Ivan, do you want to?
Mexican.
No, Mexican's so easy, though. I should have known. Did he send pesos? He better not have. Ivan, thank you so much for your contribution. We're going to rock for about 5 more minutes, just in case we have any other whales that will toss us some dough. So yeah, but the best thing you can do for the show, if you like the content, is just go check out all my videos, subscribe, like, yada, yada, yada. Really, really helps out the show. I want to leave us with some final thoughts about all this. Guys, you need to turn to God. No. No. And I don't care. My commie, atheist, godless producer can hear this. And actually, I have love for everybody that doesn't believe in God because I love you. You know not what you do. We got a lot coming up this year. Okay? We have a lot coming up this year. The Feds have already signaled that they are cutting interest rates again. So you're going to see inflation start to heat up more than it already has been. Okay? You're going to see layoffs. Okay? You're going to see a recession coupled with persistent, permanent inflation. Okay? You're going to see in the next coming years, you're going to see universal basic income. You're going to see the government try to control every aspect of your life. And it's because they say, hey, we made all this inflation, but we're going to help you out. Here's $1,000 a month so you don't commit a smash and grab, right? But now I want all your information. And you got to vote for the right person, blah, blah, blah. All that is potentially coming, but I'm getting to the good news, okay? The good news is it is the best time for entrepreneurs, okay? And it's the best time in history to get in on the bull run, right? And the bull run is Bitcoin, gold, silver, and then the stock market once it crashes. It's going to make, there's some are saying an 80% correction, okay? When that happens, if you're prepared with a little bit of cash, that's when you buy. You buy up assets and you hold them and just watch it go like that, all right? And once you get rich, you'll wake up 20 years from now and you'll be so up, you won't even believe it. Guys, what does this have to do with God? Well, that's because humanity's getting better. Humans, we are moving towards God in everything we do. So we are going to be in for some turbulence, is what I'm telling you. So just prepare yourself because you can take advantage. Don't complain about it. Don't start a YouTube channel about it and go live 3 times a week. That's my job. Take advantage of it. Okay. So yeah, I really appreciate it. And let's see what happens with Diddy. I mean, Brian, maybe you can answer this. How long do the Feds, after they do this massive public raid, right, like they did with Diddy, how long does it take them to build a case? Is there any to actually they're building the case? How long before they actually make an arrest, go to the grand jury, and put charges on them? Can anyone make a guess? I mean, look, I know these federal cases go for a long time, but I think this one has been. I mean, they had enough to serve warrants, so I don't know, maybe a year, maybe less.
I mean, it says could take months.
Could take months, but I think before the end of the year. I think that's safe to say because these guys are doing the Feds love publicity as much as anybody. The Feds are working overtime on this. I would say before the end of this year, you are going to see if it's going to happen. It's going to happen before the end of this year. That's what I'm going to say. That's my prediction. Comment what you think. Thank you so much for the super chats, and we will see you again in a couple of days. My name is Johnny Mitchell. Take care of yourself. Peace out.